No pounding, no stomping. No, that's not appropriate. Can we be clear? I didn't threaten anybody. Mr. P. Stop. You made your record. There is no dent in the table. I don't see any chips. Can we take a break now? Ms. Macaulay. I think it's appropriate to take a break. Videographer. It's 1:56 and we are off the record. Recess. Videographer. It's now 2:13. We're starting disc number 5 and we are back on the record. Ms. Maxwell. How old was Virginia Roberts when you met her in Mar-a-Lago? Objection. I know today that she was 17 years old. Are you saying that it's an obvious lie that Virginia travelled on Jeffrey Epstein's planes? Objection. You can answer. Are you referring to my statement where that says that? I'm referring to the language you use in your statement that says obvious lies. Can you read my entire statement? Sure. Let me pass it out. Maxwell, Exhibit 10, email marked for identification. This is Bates GM 00068 and we will mark it as. What you have in front of you is a statement at the top. This was produced by your counsel. It is indicated Bates number GM 0068. At the top, the date reflects January the 2nd, 2015. From appears to be a blank blank. Subject line is you, and then there is a number of individuals you can see at the top that are copied on this, that is sent to and blind copied on this statement. The statement, there are 2 parts of it. There is an opening email that says, please find an attached quotable statement on behalf of Ms. Maxwell. And there is more language there. And it's from blank. And then it says in the body of it, Jane Doe, no. Number 3 or Jane Doe 3 is Virginia Roberts, so not a new individual. The allegations made by, and it says Victoria, but I believe that means Virginia Roberts, against Ghislaine Maxwell are not true. The original allegations are not new and have been fully responded to and shown to be untrue. And the next paragraph says, each time the story is retold, it changes with new salacious details about public figures and world leaders, and now is alleged by Ms. Roberts that blank is involved in having sexual relations with her, which he denies. Ms. Roberts' claims are obvious lies and should be treated as such and not publicised as news, as they are defamatory. The last paragraph states, Ghislaine Maxwell's original response to the lies and defamatory claims remains the same. Maxwell strongly denies allegations of an unsavoury nature which have appeared in the British press and elsewhere, and reserves her right to seek redress at the repetition of such old defamatory claims. Are you saying that it's an obvious lie that Virginia Roberts travelled on Jeffrey Epstein's planes? Objection. I'm saying what's an obvious lie, and I think we can all agree. You just had the case tossed out by blank. He just got removed from the case because you put him in a case that he wasn't supposed to be in. So what was said about him is not true. Are you saying that it's an obvious lie that Virginia Roberts travelled on Jeffrey Epstein's planes? Objection. You have given me plane records that has her name on it, but as I already testified, those aren't federally mandated things and I can see her name on it, but that's what I told you. I don't recall her on any planes. Is it that one of Virginia's obvious lies? There are more obvious ones. Is that one of them? I can't testify to her being on a plane or not. So is that an obvious lie? There are more obvious lies, like blank. I understand there are more obvious ones. I'm asking you, is the fact that she said she travelled on Epstein's planes an obvious lie? I think we can probably say because you see her name on a plane record and she went from A to B, that would not be the obvious lie that I would pick. What obvious lie were you picking when you made this statement? There are so many that I would be thrilled to go through all of them. Let's go through them. What's the first one? Her characterisation of the first meeting at Mar-a-Lago. What part of that was an obvious lie? The characterisation that she said she was accosted. She looked like, as best as I can recall, if I met her in Mar-a-Lago, as she claims, she worked at Mar-a-Lago, she claims, and her statement she worked at Mar-a-Lago, she would have been dressed at all the spa people in Mar-a-Lago would have been. It would have been impossible to identify her as someone other than someone who worked at a spa. She made many claims. She has been a bathroom attendant, front of house attendant. We don't know what she was. So her obvious lies are her contradictory of her own personal statements within that. So what part of her statement relating to Mar-a-Lago? I'm carrying on. I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Please, her statement also that she was driven by her father to Palm Beach. She was driven by her mother. As a matter of fact, her whole entire characterisation of the first meeting with Jeffrey, as I was outside speaking to her mother. Let me stop you there so we don't get too far ahead. Let me make sure I understand your testimony. In the first piece, when you were talking, I believe you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that her characterisation of the first meeting at Mar-a-Lago was an obvious lie. What part of that meeting was an obvious lie? By her own testimony, all her various many different descriptions of what she was or wasn't, or where she was or wasn't, they have all changed. She was either front of house or bathroom attendant. I don't know what she was. So just by her own words, one doesn't know what's true and what isn't true. Are you saying what position she said she was working in? Is that what you are considering the obvious lie? I said inconsistency within her own statement from everything. So in the beginning it starts off with different statements. Then I believe you said the second piece was that she was driven by her father. I said she was driven by her mother. That's the obvious lie? It's an obvious lie to me. You said why don't you state it in your own words, but the characterisation of how she was with Jeffrey, what about that is an obvious lie? I was standing outside talking to her mother, so the entire story is a fabrication. Did she not have sex with Jeffrey Epstein during the first massage? Objection. I was talking to her mother, so do you know whether that's an obvious lie, whether she had sex in that room or not? Her story about what happened, let's also be, the story as first hit the press was that somebody else led her to Jeffrey's room. It was not me, and then it turned to being me, so we have an obviously important inconsistency. That's how I would characterise a lie. It cannot be me or somebody else. It can only be one or the other. Who is the other person she said took her to the room? Why don't you ask her? I'm asking you. How would I possibly know? You are saying that's a lie. It was a lie in the papers. She said it in the newspaper. It was in the newspaper. How do you know she wasn't identifying you? She said somebody. How do you know that somebody wasn't you? Why did it suddenly become me? Why not say it was me and be done with it? So it's a lie because she originally may not have named you and then named you later. It's obviously inconsistent to somebody who wasn't me. How do you know it wasn't you? I know it wasn't me because I was talking to her mother. But she then named you, is what you are saying. That's an obvious lie. She named you. It's an obvious lie because I wasn't even in the house. Is it an obvious... Who did lead her up to Jeffrey's room while you were talking to her mother? You would have to ask Virginia. I don't know if she was led up to his room. You were standing with the mother, is that correct? That's correct. Who was working at the house that day? Blank. Would blank typically lead someone up to the room where Jeffrey was having a massage? I don't know. She was led up to the room to have a massage. She would have found her way on her own? I would suggest that that entire story never happened at all in any of its form. If you stood outside with the mother, What did you think happened inside then? I believe that somebody, it wasn't me, blank, probably took her to meet Jeffrey Epstein, blank, blank. Did Jeffrey tell you that? No, but that would have been a normal interaction. I don't believe for a second. I know her entire characterisation didn't happen because I was outside talking to her mother the entire time. Why would she have come for a massage and not given a massage? Objection. We are talking about her characterisation of the first time that she came to the house. If I'm following you correctly, you're saying she walked in and would have gone to, it's your assumption she would have gone and talked to Jeffrey and left. When I was working for Jeffrey, typically he would meet someone before getting a massage from them to see if he wanted to have a massage from them, typically. So he would not have someone come up to the room and start a massage. He would not. So the young girls in the police report who say they came over and were led up to the room on the first day, would they be wrong about that? Objection. I can't comment what happened when I was not at the house. I can only comment when I was at the house. Was there ever a time where a woman came to the house for the first time to give a massage and Jeffrey had the massage that day? Objection. Can we talk about adult professional masseuses, please? I'm asking whether adult or underage. I'm not interested in talking about underage. I can only testify to what I know. Professional masseuses. Adult. I cannot testify to anything else. Why can't you testify to an underage girl that came over and was led up to the room for a massage? Objection. The police records you are referring to. You are saying that didn't happen. You're saying I can only testify to adults that came for an interview and were led up to the room. Why can't you testify to whether an underage girl was brought in for an interview and led up? Objection. Go ahead. Can you re-ask the question? Why can't you testify as to an underage girl who came over for an interview and then was then led up to the room for the massage? You've mangled your entire question. Can you please re-ask that in a way that I can answer it correctly? Why can you not testify as to whether an underage girl, you said you can testify as to females that were over the age of 18? Why can't you testify as to whether an underage girl came over for an interview and on the same day? I don't know what you mean by interview. You just said that Jeffrey Epstein interviewed, it was your word, interviewed the masseuses before they gave massages. Is that correct? The word interview is making me, I'm English, so you could have some difficulty understanding the way I communicate. I'm using your word. Then I will reuse it a different word. He would meet them because receiving a massage is something you want to make sure you are comfortable with, the person. And so interview is not the correct word, but you would meet them to have a conversation with them, to see if you want to have a massage with that person. Did Jeffrey Epstein ever meet an underage girl and on the same day receive a massage from that girl? Objection. I can't possibly testify to what happened after I was not at the house. If you are aware at any time you were at the house, did you ever see that? Ms. Menninger, let her finish the question. I can only testify to people who were adult professional masseuses who came to the house. I cannot testify to something I'm not party to and don't know about. I can only testify to what I saw. So when professional adult masseuse, male and or females, would come to the house, typically when I was there, typically he would meet with them prior to have a conversation with them about their experience, whatever, to decide whether it would then A, if he had time for a massage at that time, or B, whether he could have a massage at that moment. Was Virginia an adult when she came over? Was she over 18? Objection. I think we established as of today, we are all aware, everyone in this room, that she was 17. So you have been present when a minor was brought over for a massage for Jeffrey. Can I say, as you are able to have a massage at 17, so she came as a masseuse? I'm not saying whether or not you are able to, I'm saying you've been present at Jeffrey's home when an underage minor has come over to give him a massage. That's just not how that works. You are able to be a masseuse at 17, so she came to give for a massage at 17. You are able to come and give a massage. I'm not asking whether she is able to do it. I'm asking whether you were present at the home when a girl under the age of 18 came over for the purpose of giving a massage. Objection. You can answer. You can be a professional masseuse at 17 in Florida. So as far as I'm aware, a professional masseuse showed up for a massage. There is nothing inappropriate or incorrect about that. And your mischaracterization of it, I think, is unfortunate. How many teenagers did he have that were professional masseuses that worked in his home? Objection. How many? First of all, I'm not aware of teenagers who worked in his home. You are aware of Virginia Roberts, and you've stated she was 17 and she worked for him, correct? No, I did not state that at all. You are mischaracterizing my words and what I said. What I said was that we can all agree, and I think at this point there is not one person in this room, however much you would like her to be younger, to say she was not 17, because that has been a very offensive thing that you have all done. So she was 17. At 17, you are allowed to be a professional masseuse. And as far as I'm concerned, she was a professional masseuse. There is nothing inappropriate or incorrect about her coming at that time to give a massage. Her entire characterization of her first time at the house was to me an obvious lie, given it was impossible for her entire story to take place, given I was speaking to her mother the entire time she was at the house. So it was impossible that day, that first day she came, and you were speaking to the mother, for Virginia Roberts to have had sex with Jeffrey Epstein during this time that you were outside with her mother. Objection. You, again, are completely mischaracterizing. I can only testify to what I heard. Obvious lies about me, and her obvious lies about me are that she, as you put out to the papers and every other which way, went upstairs with her. Didn't happen. So that to me is an absolute obvious lie. I also don't believe that her mischaracterization of the length of time she was there, because as I recall, she just met with Jeffrey and then left with her mother. That's my recollection. So you were standing outside the entire time that Virginia was in the house, is that correct? That is correct. So can you testify as to whether or not, do you know either from Jeffrey or any other source, whether or not Virginia Roberts had sex with Jeffrey on that first day that she was at the house? We can categorically state, absolutely 1,000%, that she did not have any type of sexual relations as described by you in your court papers that took place, because those allegedly, according to her lies, involve some aspect of me. As I was standing outside with her mother the entire time, her entire story is a lie. Therefore, to ask me what she did or didn't do during that time, I can only testify to what she said about me, which was 1,000% false. So let's not take the first time, let's take the next time she comes. No, how can you do that? When the basis of this entire horrible story that you have put out is based on this first appalling story that was written, repeated multiply by the press, that lied about her age, lied about the first time she came, lied about and characterised the entire first time. I've been so absolutely appalled by her story and appalled by the entire characterisation of it. And I apologise sincerely for banging at the table earlier. I hope you accept my apology. It's born out of years of feeling the pressure of this entire lie that she has perpetrated from our first time. And whilst I recognise that I hope you forgive me sincerely, because it was just the length of time that terrible story has been told and retold and rehashed, when I know it to be 100% false. So not the first time she came, but the second time she came, or the third time, or any time she came. Did you ever participate in a massage with her in Jeffrey Epstein's room? I have never participated at any time with Virginia in a massage with Jeffrey. Have you ever participated at any time with Virginia in any kind of sexual contact or sexual touching with Jeffrey and Virginia? I have not. So we were going through the list of obvious lies, and you were talking about the first time, which I believe we have completed, but you can add to that if you need to. What other obvious lies did Virginia Roberts tell that you were referring to in your statement? Oh my goodness. Well, I think we can totally cover the blank story. The story that I flew with him blank, and there was a dinner with other people, and that entire thing is 100% fictitious. I have testified for the record, and I'm happy to do it again, that I have never flown blank myself as a pilot in a helicopter at any time, any place, at any time, to any part of the world. What other obvious lies were you referring to? She was referring to blank. She is referring to a bunch of people. I don't believe blank ever came to the island at any time ever. I don't even know blank, actually. Just one moment. I want to hear all of them. But when you say you don't believe blank ever came to the island, do you know whether blank ever came to the island? Blank never came to the island. How do you know that? Jeffrey doesn't know him. I don't know him, and I think had blank gone to the island during the period when I would have been involved in organising a trip, I would have been aware of it. So go ahead, you had another one. It would be easier if I could see. Do you mind if I take a reference at some of these newspaper articles, or you just want me to go from memory? Her entire characterisation of what took place in London at my home with blank blank. Was it an obvious lie that she was at your house in London? We can't really establish the photograph and all that. I don't know if that's true, if that's a real picture or not. So you dispute that you were actually photographed in your townhome in London? I don't recognise the picture. I'm not sure if that's a real picture or not. And have you talked to blank blank about that picture? We discussed Virginia's entire tale, and he asked me if he even knew her. So, did blank tell you that he did not have sex with Virginia Roberts? He doesn't even know who Virginia Roberts is. Did he tell you that he didn't have sex with her? It would be difficult to have sex with someone you don't know. He may not remember her. I think the inference is he didn't know who she was. He didn't have any recollection of her whatsoever. Has blank ever come to your London town home? Yes. Ever been the entire time I own the house? Yes. Can I go on her obvious lies? If you have more, I have. Her entire characterisation. I took her shopping into Burberry and bought her a very expensive dress. And if this photo were real, and if this is, I would never, the outfit doesn't work at all, so... Do you not remember taking her shopping? Or are you saying it's an obvious lie? You know, you did not take her shopping. I did not take her shopping. I did not buy her a $5,000 handbag. Did Jeffrey buy her a $5,000 handbag? Her accusation was that I did. Do you know if Jeffrey bought her a handbag during that trip to London? I don't know what he did. She accused me. I can't physically remember buying a $5,000, not for her, not for anyone, not for me. Did you ever go shopping with Virginia? I don't recall ever shopping with Virginia. Did you have more to go over, or did you want me to ask my questions? The entire characterisation of what took place in my house in London would have been impossible. Can I ask, do you still have it, the picture of the London townhome with you, in it? Giofa 00407. As you are looking at this picture, Ms. Maxwell, as I'm looking at it, it's on the right-hand side. There appears to be a picture hanging on the wall. Do you recall that in your London townhome? It's a little difficult to see. Do you recall having a picture on the wall there, by the room, where you're standing? I do have a picture. Do you recall on the left-hand side having a railing that looks like that with a sort of bubble wood top? I do. So are you saying that it's an obvious lie that Virginia's statement that she had sex with blank is an obvious lie? What I'm representing is that her entire ludicrous and absurd story of what took place in my house is an obvious lie, including she had sex with blank blank. She claimed things took place in my bathroom in London. Her characterisations is just not possible. So you're saying it's an obvious lie, that she was telling an obvious lie when she said she had sex with blank. Objection. The witness answered the question. I'm saying within the context of all the stories she's told, this particular story, back up, she claimed we went out at night. Blank, 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 blank. She characterised that blank, blank, blank. She then characterised things took place in my bathroom in the bathtub itself. The tub is too small for any type of activity whatsoever. Blank, 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 blank. That would be blank, blank. Yes. Are you saying that it was an obvious lie when Virginia said that you made her dress up in a school girl outfit? Objection. I already testified that, first of all, I don't know what you are talking about. I already testified. I didn't get her outfits and all of that. Is it an obvious lie that Virginia was paid to go to give a massage to blank blank? Objection. I cannot testify to what Virginia did outside of... I can't testify to what she did, who she gave massages to. So you don't know on that one? Of course I don't know. Do you agree that it's psychologically harmful to have sex with a minor? Objection. What are you asking me? I'm asking if it is psychologically harmful for an adult to have sex with a minor. Objection. I don't know what you are asking. This has nothing to do with Virginia Roberts. It does. How does it? I ask the questions, you answer. If you can't answer, you can say, I don't know. But my question is, do you agree that it's psychologically harmful to have sex with a minor? Objection. Are you giving me a random question and as not relates to this case and not relates to anything? It's obviously not something that you want to have happen. Do you agree that Jeffrey Epstein has harmed many minors by having sex with them? Objection. I can't testify to what Jeffrey did or didn't do. I have no knowledge of what you are asking me. If Jeffrey had sex with minors, would you agree that that could harm a minor? Objection. Again, I am not testifying to what Jeffrey did or did not do because I cannot. You don't know whether Jeffrey Epstein ever had sex with a minor. Again, I cannot testify to what Jeffrey did or didn't do. I cannot. You never observed him having sex with a minor. I never observed Jeffrey having sex with a minor. Do you agree that calling a sex abuse victim a liar when she speaks about her abuse can cause psychological harm? Objection. Can you repeat the question? Do you agree calling a sex abuse victim when she speaks about her abuse can cause psychological harm? Objection. Say it again. Do you agree that calling a sexual abuse victim a liar can cause psychological harm? Objection. I would like to say all the terrible things Virginia Roberts said about me is extremely harmful, and you should turn that around. All the lies she has said and you have backed her on have been extremely damaging to me. So what I can testify to is that somebody who has made these outrageous allegations and who is a serious liar, and that I know for a fact is a liar, that I can testify is damaging to me. Do you agree that calling a sexual abuse victim a liar when she speaks out about her abuse can cause psychological harm? Mr. P, are you asking a hypothetical question? Ms. Macaulay, yes. You are asking me to speculate. I'm not asking you to speculate. If somebody is a sexual abuse victim, I can't testify to what some random hypothetical person that you are asking me to speculate on their mental state or health versus speculative statement. I can't do that. That's just not right. Do you agree that by calling Virginia Roberts a liar when she was subject to sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein can cause psychological harm? Objection. Assume facts, not in evidence. I can only tell you about what I know of Virginia's lies. She lied repeatedly, often, and I know for a fact she is a liar. So I can only testify to what I know, and the fact that she has lied about me from the beginning to the end and repeatedly causes me to question anything that she may feel. Is it an obvious lie you had sex toys in Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach house? Objection. Can you repeat the question, please? Is it an obvious lie that you had sex toys in Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach house? Objection. Did Virginia say that? I'm asking you a question. Is it an obvious lie that you had sex toys in Jeffrey Epstein's house? I don't recall any sex toys. If someone said, had you sex toys, would that be an obvious lie? Objection. Like I said, can you be more specific about the house or whatever? What exactly are you referring to? What's a sex toy? Yes, how would you define a sex toy? No, I need you to define a sex toy. I don't have enough knowledge of sex toys. I would define it based on the dictionary's definition, which is an object or device used to sexually stimulate or enhance sexual pleasure. What's your question, please? The question is it an obvious lie that you had sex toys in Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach house? Objection. You can answer. Like I said, I do not have any recollection of sex toys in Jeffrey's house. Is it a lie? Is it an obvious lie that you took pictures of nude girls? Objection. We already covered this. Girls we are not referring to. I can only testify to taking pictures of adult people, and I already testified they are not nude per se. That every picture that I ever took, and which they were very limited, always by request, the people would be covered, or it would be a hand or a foot. There was never any pictures that I took of people who would only have been mainstream type, magazine type photos, and any photos I took could have been very happily and expected to be displayed on your parents' mantelpiece or grandparents' mantelpiece. Is it a lie that you approach females to bring them to Jeffrey Epstein? Objection. Please ask the question again. Sure. Is it a lie that you approach females to bring them to Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know what you are asking me. I'm asking you if it's a lie that you approach females to bring them to Jeffrey Epstein. Objection. You are not asking me a good question, sorry. You don't get to choose the questions. I would like to answer your questions, but you are not asking me a question that I can answer. What about that is causing you pause where you can't answer the question? You are trying to trap me, and that's not fair. So I already testified that I hire people across the board. So I would hire architects, decorators, pool people, exercise instructors, gardeners, cooks, chefs, cleaning people. So I, in the course of a very long time, When I would hire people, I hired people to work for Jeffrey. So I'm happy to testify to hiring people for every possible conceivable proper job that you could conceive of within the context of Jeffrey's life and homes. Is it a lie that you approach females to bring them to Jeffrey Epstein for the purpose of performing massages? Objection. Again, I have already testified that part of the job that I had was to hire lots of different types of people. In terms of whatever very small part of my job, Jeffrey enjoyed getting massages. I think that is something we can all agree in this room and within the context of that. Very infrequently, I would go to spas and myself happily receive a professional non-sexual massage from a man and or from a woman. And if that massage was something that I thought was something that was good, I would ask if that man or woman would come back and does home visits. If that person said that they did, they would sometimes come from time to time, not always, come back to the house to perform a non-sexual professional male or female massage. Were any of the exercise instructors you hired under the age of 18? Again, I don't hire, we've already established that. I don't hire people. I interview people to see if they are competent in the job that they do and or whether they are someone who seemed that they can do home visits. At the point where I think that there is somebody that can be either whatever the job may be, pool, gardener, chef, and or exercise instructor, and I think they could be good at whatever it is, at whatever skill that they had, and they did a home visit, which would obviously be mandatory, and Mr. Epstein would meet with them and decide if he wanted to have whatever skill it was that he would do it, and then he would then either have them come back or hire them. Were there any exercise instructors that worked at the home that were under the age of 18? Objection. Again, I keep coming back to this, that the people that I employed, or not the right word, the people I would meet to come and work at the house under any guise whatsoever, again, from any of the many positions that I filled, were adults. When you say adults, over the age of 18, I think we can establish what adult would mean. You never interviewed, or I know you don't want to use the word hired, whatever your role was, you brought in an exercise instructor that was under the age of 18 to work at the house. Objection. I have already testified that what I was responsible for was to find people who had competencies in whatever area I was looking for. The competencies I was looking for were professional and adult. So there was no exercise instructor that worked at the Palm Beach house or the New York house or the New Mexico house or the USVI under the age of 18. Objection. I can only testify to when I was at the house. Yes. I can only testify to the years when I was present. Right. And I can also only testify to people I personally either met and or worked with and or invited to find the correct word. I don't know what the correct word is, to come to do exercise or whatever it was at the house. Of the people that I, male and or female, that I bought were all appropriate and age appropriate adults. Over the age of 18, we've established them as an adult. You are saying appropriate adults, so we are clear. You didn't hire or bring in or know of any exercise instructors that were under the age of 18 at any of those homes. I am also testifying that when I was present at the house and with the people that I brought in were all age appropriate adults. Is that over the age of 18? Can we agree to that? Objection. Are they under the age of 18? We already established that you can be a masseuse in Florida at age 17. That does not make it inappropriate. I'm not saying appropriate or inappropriate. I'm just asking if there were any exercise instructors that were under the age of 18. I'm not aware if anybody was, but I don't want to full out and say she said. We already established you can be a 17-year-old masseuse and have it not be something that is not appropriate. So when you say that and then you go, well, you come back and say something, now we can establish that Virginia was 17, but you can be a 17-year-old legal masseuse. But I'm not aware, to your point. Who were the other 17-year-old masseuses that you were aware of? I'm not aware of any. Were there any 16-year-olds masseuse that you were aware of? I'm not aware. Any 15? I just want to be clear. The only person that I'm aware of who claims to have been, we establish Virginia now is 17, given she has changed her age so many times. The only person that I'm aware of that was a masseuse at the time when I was present in the house was Virginia. Is it an obvious lie that Jeffrey Epstein had a sexual preference for underage minors? Objection. Can you ask the question again? Is it an obvious lie that Jeffrey Epstein had a sexual preference for underage minors? Objection. Can you ask the question again? Is it an obvious lie that Jeffrey Epstein had a sexual preference for underage minors? Objection. I cannot testify to what Jeffrey's... You don't know his preference? You handed me a stack of papers from the police reports and that's what I've read, but I have no knowledge, direct knowledge of what you are referencing. So you don't know in your own mind that Jeffrey Epstein had a sexual preference for underage minors, is that correct? Objection. Is that correct? Please ask the question again. You don't know in your own mind that Jeffrey Epstein had a sexual preference for underage minors. Objection. Let me object. Answer the question. Listen to her question. Pause. I object. You answer. So you don't know in your own mind that Jeffrey Epstein had a sexual preference for underage minors. Objection. You can answer. I cannot tell you what Jeffrey's story is. I'm not able to. Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls to use them for purposes of sexual massages? Objection. Can you ask me again, please? Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls to recruit them for sexual massages? Objection. Can you ask it in a different way? Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls for sexual massages? Objection.